In this lesson, we're chatting about how to start designing your visual elements for your brand based on who you are on a deeper level as a brand. So one really amazing resource for this that we're going to dig into a lot together is from a book, How to Style Your Brand by Fiona Humberstone. This book changed how I think about branding. And one of my favorite things that she talks about in this book is with brand personality, which you established in the last lesson, thinking about your brand personality as different seasons. So this is a really great tool to use since everything we've been doing so far together has been thinking about your creative business as an ecosystem, looking at everything through the lens of nature. This is a really powerful way to start to clarify who you are as a brand, what your personality is, and how you show up in the world. So I'm going to give an overview of what Fiona describes in this book for each season. So she says that every brand has a season: fall, spring, summer, or winter, and that reflects their personality. So I'm going to give you a high-level overview of what each of those season personalities looks like and how they show up. And my guess is when you hear them, you're going to lean towards one. One of them, you're going to be like, ooh, that feels like my brand. It might be a really small inkling or it might be a really powerful inkling, but just notice which one you're like, that feels like me and my brand. All right, let's dig in. So for starters, let's chat about the spring brand personality. So the spring personality is, when you think about the spring season, it's very bubbly, it's very bright, it's very colorful. It's a brand who's really people focused. It's somebody who, as a brand, is very approachable. They're really good communicators and they're fun, right? They're really vibrant. They're good at thinking on their feet. They have so many ideas. They're highly creative, and clarity and simplicity is really important to them. Spring brands are really inspirational to other people because of that high level of creativity. So a few key attributes for the spring brand that Fiona describes are clarity, simplicity, forward thinking, open, communicative, bursting with life, bubbly, and optimistic. Typically, spring brands fall under these categories of business: creative and communications-based industries like marketing and PR, digital and creative agencies, and photographers. Also youthful brands, so children's party entertainers, children's clothes designers, and nurseries. So just take a moment, check in with yourself and your brand and say, does this resonate? Does this sound like me? Next, let's chat about the summer brand personality. So when you think about summer as a season, it's hot, right? It's very warm, the sun is blazing, and that kind of creates this muted, hazy heat wave feeling, right? So when we think about that in terms of your brand or as a summer brand, Fiona describes this as really a more measured and calculated pacing than a spring brand. So when we talked about spring brands, they're very creative and bubbly and so many ideas. Summer is much more organized. A summer brand is much more calm and calculated and organized with how they move through their ideas. They pay immense attention to detail, and they're always looking to get as close to perfection as possible. They love structure and order and process, and they don't like a lot of rapid change. They don't like a lot of spontaneity. So some key summer attributes that Fiona discusses are elegant, romantic, graceful, reserved, balanced, dreamy, misty, luxurious, and quality. Typical summer brands fall under these business categories. A lot of creative professionals, but in the interior, graphic, and jewelry design business. In addition to that, wedding planners, photographers, and classical musicians fall under this brand season. And also some really high quality, well-established businesses like lawyers and accountants can fall under this too. So take a moment to think, does the summer brand resonate with your brand? Is that what your brand feels like to you? Now let's chat about the fall brand personality. When you think about fall as a season, it's harvest season, right? It's when the season is changing from summer to winter. People are starting to slow down, but there's also the abundance of food and gatherings and community. And in that sense, tradition, right? Family tradition, community tradition, traditions around recipes and food, and starting to enter in slowly to hibernation mode. So when Fiona describes fall as a brand personality, she talks about how the fall brand is really passionate and energetic, highly independent, and have a really strong sense of justice. They're really warm and friendly and of the earth, so very grounded and rooted in tradition. They're organized and practical, and they have a really strong work ethic as well. They're lifelong learners, so they really pride themselves on achievement, and they also love history. They love tradition. They love academia and nostalgia and collecting old items. So some key fall attributes that Fiona describes for this type of brand are passionate, warm, earthy, organic, authentic, comfortable, family, cozy, tradition. So typical autumn brands in different business industries are research, journalism, psychology, archaeology, or history, but also organic and fair trade businesses that are rooted in the outdoors industries or animal industries or communities and charities. So take a moment to think if the fall brand season fits your brand personality. Now let's chat about the winter season brand personality. When you think about winter as a season, it's very stark. There's a lot of snow, typically in most places. It's very cold. There's a bit of a harshness to it. It's beautiful, but there's a very cold and crisp aesthetic to it. So when Fiona describes the winter brand personality, she talks about how winter brands are really highly driven. They're successful, they're decisive, they're calculated, they're very realistic, they're practical, and they're reliable. They're grounded, they're intelligent, and ambitious. Often winter brands, she describes, are glamorous and opulent and luxurious. But it's also brands that are really understated at the same time. So they're grounded and they're not fussy. They're not over the top. They're very crisp and clean. So some key winter attributes that Fiona describes are glamorous, lavish, grounded, practical, and luxurious. Typical winter brands in different business industries include things like high-end jewelry and fashion businesses, luxurious travel businesses, retail, cars, also banking and technology and finance and law, and no-frills businesses. So things like inexpensive flights or holiday vacations, things that are no nonsense and straight to the point. So take a moment to think about if your creative brand and business fits the winter brand personality type. After hearing the 4 brand season personalities, I want you to take action. Which brand season resonates the most with your brand personality that you established? Which brand season are you? Once you establish that, join me in the next lesson where we're going to chat about the elements you need for your visual brand. I'll see you there.